All right, everyone, welcome back to the You Can't Fool You podcast. I'm your host, Rockne O'Leary, and I got a special guest on today. I would say Brendan's been probably one of my favorite kids that I've ever had the pleasure to coach. And he's the first the high school student athlete on the podcast today. And I'm super excited to have him on today. Brendan, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited.
And so before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Vertigo Center, helping you find balance when the world won't stop spinning. So if you or a loved one are struggling with dizziness, vertigo, or imbalance, visit thevertigocenter.com to take your first steps toward steady living. All right. So, dude, how about that Notre Dame game?
I mean, I was like, obviously I wanted them to win, but I was like, that Ohio State team is so good. I was really nervous going into it. So,
Yeah, I was happy that they made it. They had a good season. They played well.
yeah, and like bright future. A lot of good freshmen, sophomores, and
Yeah,
Freeman is best coach in college football.
he's the guy. And so
Yeah,
I feel pretty good with having
yeah.
him as the coach. They got a lot of studs coming in, and
hmm
it was a good year, dude. It was a good year.
Yeah.
It was a fun year,
For sure.
and so but so I'll give a little background. Brendan is now a senior at Garnet Valley, and I had the pleasure to coach freshman football when he was a freshman, and so I want to go back. I want to start there because that's kind of where it's all started, and you
Yeah,
know he's he's gained a little bit of weight. He's got a little bit
yeah.
taller. Looks like a different person. But how much did you weigh?
I was like 90 pounds. So, yeah,
90 pounds and about what, 5'3", if
five
that?
one probably.
5'1". I'm giving you
Probably.
2 inches. And so let's go back to freshman year. What was your experience like as a freshman? Um, what coming in from eighth grade and you get to freshman year, like first day of practice. What's it like?
Well, it was definitely different because my eighth grade year, we didn't have a football season. We played flag football, and that was basically like the school team. So it was I hadn't played tackle football in a year, and even before that, it was seventh grade ball. So like the coaching was more intense. Like obviously, Coach Van Wyk, he's very energetic at practice. He's very animated, I guess, and so that was the first thing I noticed. But then also, like I actually had to learn a playbook. Like we had like five plays in middle school, and it was count, dice, ride, like all the regular plays. And then this time we actually had to learn a playbook. So it was a little overwhelming at first, but once I got the hang of it, like it was pretty easy.
All right, so it was overwhelming because there was just a lot more thrown at you. The game became a little bit more complex than it was as
Yeah, and it was even being freshman ball, it was more fast paced so than middle school. And obviously, like I said, I was playing flag football the year before. So it was definitely a bit of a jump. But
and did you play tackle football before, or was that your first freshman year? Was your first year of tackle football?
seventh grade was my first year, but I didn't like really play that much because the eighth graders got most of the playing time, and I also just wasn't that good. So
And so you go in freshman year, and what would you say was the mental aspect of the game your biggest challenge, or what would you
yeah,
say the biggest challenge was freshman year?
definitely mental. Well, I mean, obviously you saw how big I was. Physical was pretty tough too, but like mentally, like knowing I was so small, like I was always scared to hit. Like I don't know if you remember that Strathaven game when I got trucked twice.
I remember that Strathaven game. I'll tell that story.
Yeah, and I got praised, and then like that kind of was like that stuff just always happened, and I was like, I don't know, like is this something I want to keep doing, like keep putting my body on the line, like. But I mean, I loved it so much, so I kept playing, and that's another reason like mental aspect was so hard is because I just kept getting hit, and I was so much smaller than everybody. It hurt a lot more, and yeah, so
And so, well, let's go back to that Strathaven game. I remember that game. It was at
yeah.
Strathaven, and so it was one of the earlier games in the year. And I remember like it was kind of like everybody was a little bit scared to hit. We
hmm
hadn't really gotten to that point where everybody was like flying around all 11 to the ball on defense and stuff like that. And so they had a good running back. The kid was a stud this year, and he was a stud as a freshman. And
Yeah, he
so,
was.
and they ran the same play the entire game,
Hmm.
right? They just ran toss to I think it was number
Yeah,
5.
yeah.
And so as we said, Brendan was the smallest kid on the team, like by far, and everybody was scared to hit. Nobody came up, but towards the end of the game, and it was a tight game. I think we lost by 1.
Yeah, we did. We lost by either 1 point or 1 touchdown. I forget.
Yeah, and so they're going and they're probably they're in the red zone. They're inside 25 and out of nowhere you're playing safety and you come up and you stick this kid with everything that you had, but he just ran your ass over. And then I'm pretty sure it was either the next possession or the same drive. You came up and stuck him again. Now you still got ran over, but I remember
Hmm.
sitting on the sidelines and being like, "Man, you know what? I don't even care that he got ran over. Like he came in there flying. He was not scared at all." And I think you like you said, you got praised for that because nobody else was coming up like that. And you kind of there was other moments throughout the year where I saw that as well. And like you were flying to the ball. You were coming up, you were trying to make tackles. You just didn't have the size and the growth just didn't
Yeah.
didn't catch up to you yet. And so, with all of that being said, right, was there ever like you kind of alluded to it, like where was there a moment freshman year where you kind of just like felt overwhelmed and you were like, man, I don't know if football's for me.
I mean, yeah, I was always like that was really just through my mind the whole year. I I I I mean, I was 90 pounds. It was hard to hit. I didn't know how to hit too. Like I really didn't. I just kind of tried to wrap them. And so I just thought I was a baseball player at the time too. So I was like maybe I'll just stick to baseball and not like I didn't know if I wanted to keep playing football after the season, but luckily I had a lot of supporters. Like well, obviously I had you, and then I had Coach Van Wyk, and there were just a lot of people who believed in me, and so that really motivated me to keep playing.
Yeah, so you kept playing because you like at a point maybe you didn't totally believe in yourself, but you had others around you to kind of support and like kind
Yeah.
of help you kind of help you through that. And like also another part I think about is like the guys too, right? Your
Hmm.
teammates,
Yeah.
like those guys are like your brothers and
Hmm.
they were going to keep playing. And were you not going to play and not be around?
Exactly. Yeah.
And like one of the biggest things that like Coach Mack would say it all the time is like football, the sport of football is not for every kid, right? But being on a football team is, you know, because of just the community and the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And so as you progress through freshman year and you make it to sophomore year, like what was the biggest difference for you? Like like how why did you become so committed? Like what was the driver behind all of it? Because once freshman year ended, it wasn't even like I mean, I don't even think we made it a week, right? And you came to me. I didn't reach out to you. You reached out to
Yeah.
me and we're like, Coach, like let's start working out.
Yeah.
And like you were just so motivated. And so what like where was the why? Where was the why behind that? What made you so motivated?
Even though I had doubts of myself, like playing football and like being a good player, like I loved football so much, and like like you said, like the bond, like I didn't want to lose the bond with my teammates, and I figured if I didn't want to lose that and I wanted to keep playing, like why wouldn't I work? Why wouldn't I try to at least like put some effort and try and be something and not just sit on the sidelines and do nothing, which even though I did do that my sophomore year, like I mean, it's not like I was gonna stop working just because I didn't think I was gonna play the next year. Like I had to try and at least develop, and I had a strong supporting group, like I said before. So that all really helped me. That was mostly my why was the people around me. Like I also had like a fear of letting people down, and which is sometimes a good thing. Like in my case, it was a good thing because I had a reason. Like I didn't want to let people down, and I wanted to make people proud, and like just want to see people enjoy like watching me like achieve something that I worked hard for, and that was really what kept me going.
Yeah, and you had a couple of injuries along the way too that kind of kept you out. I
Hmm.
remember it was maybe like a concussion here or there, couple other
Yeah,
injuries, and so
couple concussions.
where so you go freshman to sophomore year, and then you're still battling through a couple things, right? You get injured, and it's not like you grew to the size you are now right away. And so like you had to have been getting some little wins along the way that kept you motivated, right? Like you were seeing some progress somewhere to keep you
Yeah,
like almost like the horse with the carrot, right? It's like there you get
yeah.
a little bit more, a little bit more. Can you tell us about some of your wins that kind of kept you going?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so like the first thing, not gonna lie, like when I remember I would weigh in at your place like every now and then when I would go there, and like February came around and I like broke 100 pounds, and I thought that was sick. And so like, and it sounds crazy for like a freshman in high school to say that breaking 100 pounds body weight is like a big goal for them, but like it was. And then I remember we always did the kettlebell stuff like the whole time. And I remember our first time barbell testing. Just from doing the kettlebell stuff, like nothing else, no barbell work. My squat went up 30 pounds. My deadlift went up 50 pounds. My bench went up like 15 pounds in only probably from like November to February. So, like seeing those results, like, and when you see results and you achieve goals, like, how can you not want to keep going and achieve more? And so those were a bunch of my little wins.
Yeah, there's, you were setting the goals and you were meeting it. But I think the biggest thing around that also, which you know, yes, what we did work because we just focused on keeping it like super simple, nothing,
Yeah,
nothing crazy, right? It was your first time really lifting and understanding, kind of what we were doing and kind of the why behind we were doing what we were doing. But the other part is you were extremely consistent. Like you came twice a week, you didn't miss. You were very, very consistent. And so you started to build that habit of, 2 days a week. I'm going to see Coach Rock. And then as you start to move on and you're getting in with, sophomore and the program and the lifting program at the school, like you just continue to stay consistent. And I think consistency is really the key to anything, and you made it a habit. And like, dude, you became an absolute beast in the gym, which is like awesome.
yeah,
And so then let's take it back. Like what would you say was the most pivotal moment in your football career?
yeah. So for me, it was probably like there were a lot of moments like in my career where I like realized like I love football, or like maybe it wasn't for me, or like I really need to work at it and like do something. It was probably junior year, because so sophomore year for playoffs I got pulled up to play like scout team, and normally like that was like a good thing. Like sophomores, if you got pulled up, that's like usually a good sign. Like coaches have, they believe in you and they want you to step up next year. And then next year I got a text from Coach Ant White before minicamp, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna put you on the JV side." And he sent me like a paragraph with it. It was like I know, he told me he wanted me to force them to move me to the varsity side, and like that he knows I was a competitor, and that he wanted me to just use it as motivation. Throughout that whole season, honestly, was like kind of like at points I was down on myself. I'm like, damn, like I'm on JV, like I really gotta, like what am I doing? Like, and then at other points I was like, all right, well this just gives me a reason to work hard. Um, like through like, at the end, uh, um, I was really grateful, to be honest, because like Coach Van Wyk was very supportive of me the whole time, and he knew that I was working hard, and he knew it was for my development. Like whether I practiced with varsity or not, I wasn't gonna play. I wasn't gonna have a starting job, so I might as well be down with JV, play in the JV games, develop there, learn the playbook better there, and then be prepared for my senior season. So that was definitely my most pivotal moment, because it kind of made me realize like, all right, he's not putting me on JV because he thinks I'm a bad football player. Maybe it's because he sees something in me and he wants me to develop, which sounds kind of stupid, but like knowing Coach Van White, like you would know like he just wants you to develop, and he always knows if you're an athlete and if you have potential. And so he just wanted me to develop, and I was really grateful for that at the end of the day.
Yeah. So what was the lesson that you learned from that, right? Because
Yeah,
I hear two things, right? You're a junior, you get pulled up, and then you're like, oh, go to JV, right? And that to the ego, that kind of hurts.
yeah, exactly.
But right, the two things that you
Yeah.
control are your attitude and your effort, right? Nobody else can control that except you. And so what was the lesson? What was the biggest lesson that you learned?
I needed to put my ego aside and just work, and I needed to realize that like I just needed to work. I'm not gonna get everything easy. I gotta work for it. And so yeah, that's kind of what I learned from that.
Yeah, and so what I'm hearing you say is you changed the way you viewed the situation, right? Because
Yeah,
again, you have control and you have the power to perceive the situation however you want. So you could have played the victim, which is something that in the program
yeah,
we talk about a lot. You could have played the victim and be like, oh, coach doesn't like me, or coach, whatever, I'm not getting a shot because coach, like, whatever. That's kind of a zero sum game. If you're not really winning,
yeah,
you're not
exactly.
going to win with that kind of attitude. You're just going to get
Yeah,
further and further down. And you chose to not view your situation that way. And then so you come back and you have this amazing senior year where you're just an absolute stud. So let's talk about senior year. Did all the kind of adversity that you went through, how much sweeter did that make this year?
it made it so much better because like it made me feel like I had achieved something, and like that's what made me like feel like I succeeded is because I worked for a goal. I set a goal. I worked for it. I achieved that goal. And like, I thought I had a great senior year. And like, that was one of the things I wrote down that you mentioned earlier is like not fall victim. Like, I couldn't be a victim to that situation because that's when you go soft and that's when you stop caring. Like, you gotta like try to be something and not just go out and play soft and act like you don't want to play. And like, I mean, there's people who are watching you and they want to watch you succeed, and like I didn't want to let them down. And another thing that I wrote down was that ego kills development because I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like if you're all full of yourself and you are just feeling sorry for yourself because like your ego got shot, like you're not, it's you're gonna think that you're too good for that situation, but you can't have that mindset. You gotta be like, all right, I'm here for a reason. Like it happened for a purpose. Like I gotta just work hard to change that and be something, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you certainly did that. What was your favorite game you played in senior year?
Like it's either the very first game of the season against Coatesville, because like that was my first varsity time and I played pretty well in that game. And like I remember going up to I don't know, you remember Douglas, Ryan Douglas?
Yeah, I
I
remember
went up to him
Douglas.
like at the end of the game and we were on the sideline and we were both like damn, like this is so fun. Like and so it was either that game or the Strathaven playoff game. Because I mean, you watched that. I've
Yeah,
watched that game so many times, like in class or like in at lunch or something. Like when I got free time, like I watched that game and it's pure cinema. So
yeah,
I love
it
watching
was.
that game.
It was. I was watching
Hmm.
online. I was very dialed in. I was very happy for all you
It
guys.
was a great game.
And so I want to talk about. So we talked about success a little bit, and it
Yeah.
seems like I'm hearing you say like your success. The reason you feel successful is because it came from within, and it wasn't all these external factors that made you feel successful. It was internal, where it was something important to you. You consistently did the work, and the only validation that you needed was you lived up to like a promise that you made to yourself. And so you didn't steer off, the alignment pattern. Maybe you veered off here and there a little bit where you had some questions, but you were pretty self-aligned with what you wanted to achieve and what you wanted to accomplish. So leadership, was there a moment in throughout your career where you felt where you had to step up as a leader on the team?
I think I was never much of like a rah-rah guy like in practice, but I think or even in the games, but I think when we that first loss after it was kind of a group realization, like a group leadership moment, the seniors having to step up because after we lost to Haven in the first in week 5, I think it was, because like one of the things Coach Van Wyk mentioned to us at after that game, he was like, I think we had an ego for a little bit, and um, we need to like now that's aside, like we lost now, we lost. We're facing adversity. Like, how are you guys going to respond to that? So like we just had to go tougher at practice and like never something specifically where it was like me like coming out to the team and saying something like more of like a realization between the seniors where we all were like, all right, we got to step up because we are better than this and we know what we're capable of. So we had to just keep working and work harder the next week and then harder the next week and then harder the next week. Like not take anybody lightly.
Yeah. And so that was week 5, and you guys had strung
Hmm.
together
Yeah.
how many wins before that?
Uh, 4-0 before that
Four
game.
zero, and then right. So right, you're winning, feels good. Like you're
Yeah.
on a roll, and the next thing you know, man,
Yeah.
you lose a tough one, and you're like,
Hmm.
got to kind of reevaluate what we're doing, and again that hurts the ego a little bit, right?
Yeah.
What was what was the best piece of advice that you've ever received from a teammate, mentor, coach, anybody?
One of the things one of my coaches told me probably either freshman or sophomore year, like one of my position coaches. I was always really nervous for the games because I was small still sophomore year, and like I was really anxious before games. I was scared to like mess up. I was scared of my opponents. My opponents were so much bigger than me. So like one of my coaches told me one time, like, why would you be scared of somebody else? They bleeds the same as you and they craft the same as you and like everything. Like just think about that. Like who cares how much bigger he is than you? Like if you go out there and you have some heart, like you can do anything. And then another thing, just in general about high school football was like, and every coach I've ever had has probably said this, but just like make sure you cherish what you got because the 4 years go by really quickly and you don't get to play this amazing game for so long. Like only so many players get the opportunity to play another 4 in college, and a fraction of that get to make a career out of it. So you gotta enjoy every moment you have. You know, don't complain about practice. Like find a reason to get excited, even if on your worst days you're feeling tired, you're feeling sore. Like find a way to get excited for practice. And obviously, everyone's always excited for games. So just make sure you make the most of all that.
Yeah, totally. You're spot on. I feel the same way. Like
Hmm.
once you're done, you're done. Like it's not like you're playing again. You can't really recreate playing a football game. It's just not really the same. And I remember I had a coach in college one time, and I remember we had like a team meeting. We were sitting out on the bleachers, and I think it was during camp, and he was saying, I forget the exact details of the story, but I think he might have been at like Bowling Green or something.
Hmm.
He was talking with one of their coaches there, and they were doing like stadium stairs or something, and it was like miserable. It was some miserable sort of conditioning, and basically, and then he turned to who was our offensive coordinator and was like, "They're having the time of their life, and they don't even know it." And so like that, I'll never forget that because it was like this brutal conditioning, and it was, it's like obviously it sucks, but when you look back on it, it's like, no, that really was the time of your life. You just didn't know it, right? And I
Yeah.
can even think back to Garnet Valley. There were so many times where Coach Ricky, like we were doing, whatever it was,
Yeah.
250s, or the time the time when we were running at 1 a.m. in the gym, and then had practice at 6 in the morning running 250s, and then had 3 practices that day. And like at the time it does suck, and you're like, man, but when you look back on it, it was like I would do anything to go back to that
Yeah.
because it really was the time of our life.
Yeah, even the worst practices or like worst moments, somebody gets in trouble, like we look back on it and we're like, yo, you remember that? And then we all laugh about it. And it's always like all that bad stuff is like is something that we smile about when we talk about it now. So
Yeah, and I think, the one the one question I was going to ask you is like, what's one thing that most people like don't really realize about being part of like a high school football team? But I don't even think it just applies to football. I think it's, and this is nothing against like individual sports. I think it's just more of a team sport thing, and the aspect of team sports and being on a team. And it's like those are like the biggest times. Those are most of the things that you remember. Like you'll walk away and the games and all that stuff are great, but probably give it 4 or 5 years, even a year, man. Like I remember when I stopped playing college, a month later, I was like, man, I'm ready to get back to practice.
yeah,
Because like the things you remember are just like hanging with the guys in the locker room and like
exactly. Yeah.
pre practice and just like the chatter and goofing off and being around and
Yeah.
just being around with your friends, and that's what it's like. That's what sports are all about. And like
Yeah.
it's just supposed to be fun, and those are the times that you really cherish
Yeah.
and miss. And so, who thinking about the guys and the people on the team, like who was a teammate that impacted your journey?
There's a lot because they all like mean a lot to me and they're all my boys. But probably Nolan because he was my other safety and Nolan and Dean actually both of them Nolan and Dean
Yeah.
because they were my two position like we were all safeties and I was always like Nolan always told me because like he always knew that there was gonna be a moment where I had to step up and be prepared like when that finally happened like after the Coatesville game or just after I think after the Coatesville game like he was like dude like you like I knew you'd have to be ready to step up and be ready to play. Coach Q, like he wants you to play. He believes in you. So like just make sure like keep that going because like we need that and like you played great. And then my junior year after a JV game, he texted me and was like he was watching the film, like the JV film, and he was a varsity starter. And he was like, "Oh, on play, like whatever in huddle, like that you did, that was really good." Like and then he basically went through a couple plays and like critiqued me and he like supported me and was like, yo, this was a great play, this one you had it, you just got to do this or this. And so he was like probably my biggest teammate supporter that I had because he played my position and he knew there was going to be times where I had to step up, and so that he was really helpful with me throughout my whole journey.
Yeah, I think you've highlighted this in numerous times, and I think it's really important to just keep highlighting is the amount of coaching and support that you've had over your 4 year journey. And
Yeah.
like it's super important, and I think one aspect to that has to be like you have to be coachable,
Yeah.
right? Like you are an extremely coachable kid, and you've gained a lot from listening to coaches, taking their advice, believing in yourself, and you knowing that they believed in you. Because I think it's from a coaching perspective, from being a coach now, but also being a player too. It's like whether the coach cares
Yeah.
or not. Like it's pretty obvious. The kids aren't stupid. They know whether like the coach deeply cares or not. And we've been fortunate enough like to go through Garden Valley and have coaches that deeply care so much about every single kid in the program, whether you're a
Yeah.
starter or whether you never see the field at all. Like they care. Every coach in that program cares about every single kid. And
Yeah.
so if you're an athlete, you're a younger athlete listening to this podcast, or I mean, you don't even have to be a younger athlete, high school, college. What based on your journey, what piece of advice would you give about just what advice would you give to a young athlete that's maybe starting out kind of the way you started out? It's like they're small. It's like, man,
Yeah.
this is tough. Everybody's a lot bigger. Is this meant for me? And it doesn't have to be just football. It could be in any sport, really. What piece of advice would you give that young boy or girl?
Yeah, I would say like it's never, and this can go like for like a game. This can be talking about like a workout. This could talk about your whole journey, but it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And the reason I say that is because like obviously my personal story, like I started off like really small, and like I didn't know if it was for me at first, and I had, I guess you could say to that, like saying like I had that rough start. Like I didn't know if it was for me. I didn't know if I should keep doing it. But at the end result of what I had my senior year through constant work, like I ended up having a good senior season, and like you gotta just trust the process, and it's you're not gonna get results overnight. You gotta keep working at it, and so yeah, that's what I'd say. Just it's not about how you start because I mean, as long as you keep pushing, trust the process and work day in and day out, like it's not gonna matter how you started because what you're gonna end up being is something greater than what you started as, and that's what it's all about. It's about development and mentally and physically. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, because exactly, like trust the process is it. You could if you focus on results, well, results are good as like, goals and metrics and where to go. If you just focus on results all of the time, sometimes you're not going to get the results you want, right? If you are trusting the process, then you keep just at it a little bit
Yeah.
every single day. And those gains add up tremendously.
Hmm.
And so let's just highlight some of your accolades. Let's go back to freshman year. We'll just show everybody how much of a beast you are. Freshman year, your deadlift was what when we started working together?
I think my max deadlift was, I think I started out like when I did my first testing with you, I think I got like 175 on deadlift.
175, and then squat.
I don't even know if 115, I think.
Okay, and where'd you end up? What are you
Right
squatting at?
now, my max is 315.
Okay, bench.
When we started, we didn't even bench because I wasn't really strong enough. Like I couldn't really, like I could do the bar, but I couldn't even get 95 for like a rep. So there was no point. We did like the dumbbell stuff and
Yeah.
kettlebell stuff. But now my bench, max bench 185,
Okay, and then what was your max deadlift?
175.
What about now? 365. So consistent work, man.
Yeah.
Good. You got some pretty good numbers from
Thank you.
from where you started. You should be proud of yourself. Now, something those things are great, right? But as athletes, you can't take the barbell, you can't take the kettlebell, you can't take those things out on the field with you. So, like, yes, they are important, but it's not the end all be all. And I think what I'm going to say, those things are great, but what I'm most impressed with is I pay attention to what you're doing still. What is that box jump of yours? So that's see that if I'm picking a team, right? I'm looking for the kid that can jump that high. That's the kid that I want on my team. What are we jumping at?
My In the summer before the season, I did like step up here. Actually, let me find it because I have a video somewhere. It's like in my Instagram DMs, I think. But it was,
I mean, I think you cleared 40, didn't you?
yeah, nah, I can do 40. I did
Oh, you say like that's light work.
well, yeah, I did on box jump step up, I did 56 in the summertime. And right now I've been trying to get that back up, and that was like, here looking at the video, like that was like up to my chin. And then regular standing, and I also did this from seated. I did 50, and that's like probably just right here on me.
Yep.
So that was always just something I had. I don't know why. Probably just me being a kid with ADHD. Like I was always jumping around the house, like touching the door frame and like t trying to touch the ceiling and stuff. And like I was just always jumping around. And I think that honestly like kind of developed my jumping skills.
You were
And
building those skills from a young age.
yeah, so but I love box jump too, and I love like power training and like cleaning and like all that speed stuff. Like because I mean that's really where you become an athlete. Like that's where it all matters. So, and it's also just fun. Like, I mean, what's not fun
Of
about
course.
like just jumping around? And I've been trying to dunk for a while. I've I can touch the rim. I can't grab it yet, but by the summer.
And how tall are you now?
5'8.5", 5'9", maybe. Probably 5'9",
Nice. 5'9".
generous.
On a good day.
On a good
In pro
day,
in the program, you put 6 foot though, right?
program, I definitely gave myself a few. I don't even know what I put for my, I think I was listed at like 5'10", but
Yeah, there you go. I know I put. I think in my senior year program, I put 6 foot, and I'm not even close to 6 foot.
yeah. You
Just for
always got to
everybody
give
else's
yourself a
sake.
couple.
You got.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have to. So
I
what's
mean,
what's next for you? What's next for you? You're a senior. What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are you trying to go into next? Was as you
well,
prepare for graduation and the next phase of your life.
yeah, well, I have three colleges in mind, and that's West Virginia, which I would go to just be a student. Some of my friends from high school are going there. Then Wilkes and Dickinson both could play football there, and I do really like both of them. And I don't know what the word is from Dickinson yet, but I could get a good academic scholarship from Wilkes. So, and I really like their coach too. Their coach, he really likes me, and I really like him, and so we're gonna see what happens. It's a commitment, which I love football, so like I'm fine with that commitment, of course. College is 4 years you don't get back though, so I do want to make the most of it, and if making the most of it is playing football, then that's how it's going to be. But if it's just, being at a big school and having some fun and stuff like that, then yeah. So we'll see, but I still haven't decided yet. I'm going to decide in a couple weeks, I think, and then we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, like you said, you love playing football. If you get you're lucky to get
Yeah.
4 more years of it, and if you do, great. But again, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
decision. It's a decision that you got to make if it feels right to you. And like I think that's kind of an important point to highlight. Really,
Hmm.
I think because I played Division 3 football and I played in Terra Sinus and I played in the same conference as Dickinson's in.
Yeah, Centennial.
I think sometimes people forget like you don't need to play at a Division 1 or 1 AA like big time level to really just love playing the game,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And like the only reason I continue is because I loved playing football so much, similar to what you're saying. And like my dream really was to be able to just play college football and like be around it for another 4 years. Because again, once it's gone, it's gone. You never get it back.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like it's a commitment for sure. And like you don't get athletic scholarships for playing Division 3, but I don't know. It's still pretty awesome that you get to play, and it is good competition, and there
No,
are
yeah,
some
for sure.
awesome, really really good players that play at that level,
Yeah.
and so you know I think I think that's kind of just something that gets like overlooked. Is why would you want to continue to play? I guess people could say it doesn't mean anything or whatever, but like it does, and people who play at that
Yeah.
level they love the game and they care about it that much.
Yeah, you don't have to keep playing because you want to go to the NFL. Just keep playing because you love it and it's passion. So,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Or you don't have to play because you got a scholarship. You just play because you keep playing,
yeah, it's
um,
football.
and it's fun, man.
Yeah,
Well, dude, I'm so proud of you, and
thanks, bro.
it's
Appreciate
been
you.
it's been awesome to be able to watch you as a freshman. And I still have those
Yeah.
videos of you trying to clean like a 70-pound kettlebell that was literally bigger than you,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
and you were so pumped when you got that up.
Yeah, I
That
remember I
was
wanted you to post it to like a little baby song and like I wanted everyone turning up on it. It was
dude. It was a big moment for you though.
that
Like
yeah,
it was.
exactly. Like it was a goal. So it meant a lot. But
It was.
now like I could probably like I don't even know if I'd have to like jump to clean it. I could probably just like curl it or something up on my
I,
shoulder. Not curl it, but you know what I mean.
All right, we'll get you doing some other stuff with the 70-pounder.
Yeah.
We'll get you strict pressing. We'll get you doing a Turkish get up with it. We'll get you snatching it.
Oh yeah.
We'll get you doing some
Yeah.
other things. We
Yeah.
can put that 70 pounds to use for sure.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I'm always your biggest supporter.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
like I said, I'm proud of all the hard work, the commitment, the dedication, and honestly, like we kind of talk about in the program all the time, is that we happen to be really good at football, but the most important thing that we do is develop good young men, and
Yeah.
that's what you've turned
Uh-huh.
into.
Thank you.
And so I'll post that video of when you were a freshman pick picking up that kettlebell. But dude, thank you for being on, and
Of
you know when
course.
you know you got anytime you can call me. I'm here to support you.
Yeah, of course. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. We'll get some of the boys on too, and
Yeah,
we'll
we
chop it
gotta
up.
we gotta do some too. A couple guys,
Yeah, we
chop
will.
it up, talk about football. I love talking
That's
about
it.
football, so I'm always down.
Yes. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll do it before the Super Bowl.
Bet.
We'll
Let's do it.
try to get together. We'll talk about little round table about the game and
Oh yeah.
The Eagles season and everything. We'll make some predictions. We'll do something fun.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yep.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Please leave a review, subscribe, follow. And I'm your host, Rockne O'Leary, and this is the You Can't Fool You podcast.